AHP, the African Humanities Program, operating in 5 African countries, offers opportunities to African scholars to interact with each other through residency periods. It's a unique program in the way in which it emphasizes the humanities and emphasizes a humanistic approach to doing research. What the AHP does is to ensure that there are opportunities for African scholars to live out their own scholarship and to do it in ways that provides a legitimation for their own experiences. And through those experiences to ultimately, of course, write books about what their scholarship is about.
I think AHP is important in the ways which is empowering African scholars to be able to deal with their own local cultures. For example, if you are an insider of a culture, it gives you a much better perspective, because most of the representations of African history has come about as a result of the ways in which Europeans did not understand certain cultural nuances of the cultures in which they were investigating. So it makes a lot of sense to have African scholars dealing with sources that are largely African. Within the last 15 years, my research has mainly focused on documenting memories of the slave experience in Ghanaian folklore. I have been interested in looking at the ways in which certain communities in Ghana, principally the Bulsa and the Kasana ethnic groups, how they have retained the memories of the slave experience during the latter part of the 19th century.
One of the things about having a lot of scholars is that one is able to organize colloquia where you bring all the scholars on the AHP in one place to speak about their research. And I think it's really important to share that kind of knowledge. This is the first time that we've had a colloquium that is really just about AHP scholars. So it's just a conversation that we're all here just talking about what it is that we're working on. And our first speaker is going to be Elizabeth.
And for now, I started with the myths behind the names of localities. You know that in our tradition, the naming also has got some culture in it.
I analyzed oral literature, focusing in Zanzibar, in Tanzania, and the oral literature, oral literature is wide, so I focus myself on the tales, folk tales and myths.
What I have been doing is to articulate the voices of those who were threatened by slave raids.
It was exciting to listen to people and to also have people listen to you and give you perspectives.
One of the fantastic outcomes of these colloquia is that they, first of all, they get feedback on what they're working on, and this then leads to the next step, which is the development of their manuscripts.
I intend to do a number of journals, articles to publish. And I think my host, Dr. Linda Spencer, has already suggested one of the journals that I could publish with them.
It gives scholars, but especially women scholars, provides them with a space in which they could just sit down and do their research away from all the hassle and bustle of what it means to be an academic and what it means to be a mother, and if they're married, a mother and a wife, and all that.
Being away from home is a golden opportunity for me, like to focus on my academic career, because back home I have really to divide my time, and there is no way that you can, avoid some of the responsibilities that you must do.
Well, women do have a lot on their plate, and I think what the fellowships do is help them, it enables women to focus on being scholars and to shut out all the other things in their lives.
Many people have published their papers now, those who before couldn't, but after being awarded AHP, many of them have published. They have done research and they have published, and they continue to publish.
AHP is a seed for a new kind of Africa, a new kind of African scholarship. The way it connects people and crosses borders that we can't usually cross, I think it's fantastic.
I just think it's a great way of connecting scholars across the continent.
I believe it's very important that they're involved not just with their work that they're doing, but also to interact with other members of the university and get to know the cultures around us in South Africa and Grahamstown.
At home, I'm teaching the course titled Theatre for Children and the Youth. So in this class, I told the students to go and collect any performance that is relating to young people and come and present in the class. This is how I came to do this research about young Kangamoko dancers.
He is an anthropologist from Ibadan, and I was having a conversation with him about something that I had witnessed just outside Ibadan on the highway to Lagos. It was a dead person lying on the side of the road. He was intrigued by this because it is something that he himself had developed a major interest in. He then wrote an article called The Roadside Corpse, which was published in the Journal of Contemporary African Studies. It was kind of what we're trying to achieve in the AHP. Here you have a scholar focusing on a very depressing aspect of Nigerian life, but a very real aspect of it. Coming to terms with it, trying to understand it, because it's that environment that we do need to come to terms with.
My research is about the German translation of some Anglophone African literature, particularly on the German translation of Wole Soyinka's Archaic Years of Childhood and Chinua Achebe's Arrow of God. Scholars do not only go to sit in their department and work, go to the libraries to work. They are also taken off the academics sometimes. There are events, there are activities organized for us, take your mind off the academics a little bit.
Most of the time when we use the elephant, it's a symbol of honor. It's also a symbol of power, it's a symbol of stability.
Having scholars from African continent moving around doing research in collaboration, networking, I think it is good for African humanities. We are moving forward.
We are moving forward because we have left behind our colonial shackles, and the new project of Africa is a focus on Africa itself with its own voice from its own perspective. And that surely is the beginnings of our decolonial project.
When we focus on Africa and Africans and our own world, we stop wondering what Europeans think or what they're doing, then we're really free of the colonial past.
One of the legacies of the AHP is that at the end of its time it will have created a community of scholars from West, East and Southern Africa that know each other and that have their work embedded on the continent.
We don't import knowledge and export knowledge, but we kind of share it within the continent.
What's our agenda in Africa? Who's going to articulate that, if not African scholars? And that's the AHP's agenda. It's Africa's agenda.